Morning, everyone. Hope
Howdy,
everyone's
folks.
having a good day despite the dreary weather. Um, so we're excited to have you here for our webinar, When MFA Isn't Enough. My name is Sonia, and I'll be helping guide today's session. This shouldn't take the whole hour. I would say over the next 30 to 40 minutes, we're going to take a
Yep.
closer look at a reality that many organizations are starting to face, which is with MFA being a critical security layer, it's no longer a complete solution on its own. So today, Russell's going to walk through some real world scenarios where gaps still exist, and more importantly, what practical steps you can take to better protect your organization moving forward. Since it is a shorter webinar, we are going to leave time at the end for questions. So throughout the presentation, if you want to drop any questions into the chat, feel free, and then we will talk about them at the end. Russell, if you're ready, it's all yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Yeah,
Mhm.
so um, I've gotten some questions, and this whole webinar came out of the fact that I've had two very interesting questions for people, which is, we put an MFA, isn't that all we need? Which is a good question. The other one is I've heard is this company had MFA, why did they still get hacked? So we wanted to answer these questions, explore this issue, and really explore the idea of layers of protection, and that this is a constantly evolving landscape in cybersecurity. So let's dive in. So first off, I just kind of like to know, and feel free to pop in the chat. I'll tell you where I see most folks are, is do you have MFA enabled in your business? So um, put in a one if it's all accounts, two if it's some, three, no, not yet, and four, not sure. And just give a few seconds for this one because I kind of know based on conversations with clients that most people are going to answer probably a number two. Um, a lot of businesses, depending on your infrastructure, may be on a number one. But the honest truth of it is, almost every organization has a lot of different vendors, a lot of stakeholders, a lot of different software packages, and it should be in anything secure. It isn't always. Yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing from the answers. So probably number two is most likely. Uh, Luckily, these days, we're not seeing too many number threes yet. The other question I kind of want to ask is what type of MFA is the primary use? So some things that we're pretty familiar with, one would be text message MFA. You probably run into that a lot in your home environments. Two would be an authenticator app, like Duo, Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator, and that would be sent to your phone typically. Push notifications are also a phone thing that would be through that app. So if you're an Advantage client using Duo, when you log into your computer, that's that green check mark that comes up, or red X, that comes up when you log in and enter your password. Hardware security keys may be key fobs or pass keys, maybe a card. We see some of those too. Okay, yeah. So we're kind of seeing a mix, which is again what I'd expect. Push notifications and apps are becoming increasingly popular. Still have some folks using text message on things, and that's also not unusual. It's also a little bit of a problem. We're going to look at why. So MFA is no longer, this is the first takeaway. So few years ago, this was before COVID. We spent a lot of time at Advantage going on talking to clients. You need multi-factor because not everybody had it. And the first line of defense was email. And so it was great when Microsoft and Google built multi-factor into their platforms. Didn't mean we needed any third-party tools. We were able to get that out to our clients. And we did a lot of work here at Advantage making sure that all of our clients have multi-factor at least very minimum on their email. We also want to see it definitely on any other cloud systems that are dealing with finances, personal information, personal health information. So HR, payroll, accounting, all of those things. Now, and at the time it was, and I still remember saying this to clients, if you don't have MFA, it's not if you get hacked, it is when you get hacked. And at its core, multi-factor MFA works because the hacker needs additional information to get in. So very common these days is a hacker will get somebody's username and password. Maybe they purchased this on the dark web. Maybe that username and password was exposed through a third-party company breach like Ticketmaster a few years ago, which had over 1 billion records and passwords breached. So hacker has that. MFA works because they still need a third piece of information to get into your account. The username and password isn't enough. And that third information could be a code, key, all the things we looked at. So MFA isn't working anymore, unfortunately, because, and we're seeing this, 54% of the orgs, and this is FBI annual cybercrime report data, with MFA still had a breach last year of the organizations that were breached. And we're seeing several new tactics and tools coming in that are influencing this and making that MFA is weakened in some areas, or it may not be enough anymore. A lot of that is AI phishing. We're going to take a look at those examples. So where we see it fall short, social engineering, talking your way into a system. This is why phishing is so popular. If you can phish your way in, trick the person into granting you access or granting you access to their MFA as a hacker, you've gotten that. And they're talking their way through with new tools like AI. So we'll look at some examples of that. We're also seeing just the breadth. They can use AI tools to email millions of people at a time and do some customization on those emails. So the emails are harder to spot in those phishing attempts. We're seeing token vulnerabilities, and this is a little bit geeky here, but basically hackers can be a man in the middle and steal MFA credentials before passing them along to Microsoft or Google, whatever platform that is. And we're going to look at an example of that. We're also seeing older MFA methods like those text messages are no longer as secure as they used to be. So let's look at a few examples, and then we're going to talk about what you can do as an organization to mitigate these issues. So how we bypass MFA. We're going to look at deepfake AI phishing. We're going to look at token theft, session hijacking, MFA fatigue, which is a fascinating piece of social engineering, SIM swapping, which is what's hurting text messaging, and then adversary in the middle attacks. So first we want to look at is deep fakes or AI-driven attacks. So what we're seeing in 2026, we first saw, I think, in our major notable first instance of this 3 years ago. 2023, there was a $20 million financial loss from a Hong Kong bank where basically bank employee in Hong Kong gets a call from the CEO in London. It was a video call. It was on Zoom. And he thought he was talking to the CEO. Turned out it was an AI generated person and voice impersonating the CEO, what we call a deep fake, a fake person. And that fake CEO was able to tell the employee in Hong Kong to violate company procedures that protected against financial loss. He thought he was hearing the CEO tell him to break the rules, and then wire $20 million in that case to hackers. That's what we saw a few years ago. Technology democratizes over time. It becomes cheaper and easier to use. So what we saw 2 years ago that was involved in the $20 million theft, people, it's now so easy for the bad guys to leverage these tools and techniques that they're going after hundreds of dollars or a few $1,000s. And that means they could be targeting you personally or any organization of any size. So this voice cloning, video impersonation, social engineering scale. This is an eye-popping statistic. With the rise of generative AI, we've seen deep fraud attempts increase 3,000% in the last year we have data on. So this is not a little increase, this is an explosion. How do these work? Well, traditional phishing, we have these red flags that we spot, right? We're looking, 5 years ago when I was doing cybersecurity training, I was saying, hey, look for bad grammar. The person's probably overseas. That's not your colleague. Guess what? Hackers have ChatGPT. They're getting their grammar cleaned up just like you and I are. Uh, Generic greetings and templates. Now they're able to craft targeted specific emails using AI. It takes them a few seconds. It doesn't take them 20 minutes to write a targeted email. So they're able to send out tremendous volumes more of these emails. The AI helps them prepare the attack. Suspicious sender addresses, those can be spot. So all of these AI tools are making it harder to spot the traditional hallmarks of that's not my colleague. That's not the person I talk with. So ChatGPT, now they got perfect grammar. They're context aware. They're personalized with real data. And what they're doing is they're trying typically to impersonate VIPs in your company or organization. So the C-suite folks are the number one targets. And guess what? The C-suite folks have a lot of content out there for them to train the AIs on. If your CEO talks, records videos on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, they've got data they can train on. Let's take a look at that. So how easy is it to do this in 2026? And in the spring of 2026, because it's going to be even easier in a few months. So I gave myself a little challenge a couple weeks ago. I do play with generative AI tools. I've done a lot of work, but I've never actually made a fake Russell. So I said, okay, I'm going to give myself a challenge. I'm going to say, never having done this, I'm going to give myself 30 minutes max, set a timer, and I'm only going to use publicly available free tools. So I did not go download anything. I didn't go buy anything. I just said 30 minutes. Let's see what I can do. I took one picture of myself and I took a 20-second audio recording. And here's what we get.
Cybersecurity training is an essential layer of protection.
So do that one more time. And
Cybersecurity training is an essential layer of protection.
so I was able to do that in 20 minutes with minimal effort. Imagine if I was spending time on it, really trying to fleece somebody. So this is the level of sophistication and ease of access that we're at in 2026. And it makes it really hard to spot these things when you get that call, even when you get a video call that may not be your CEO. Now, what do you do in this case? I'm going to help you out. So first thing you do, and this is what we always preach in cybersecurity training, is call to confirm. Because you can no longer assume that the person who called you is who they say they are, which is a weird thing to say, you want to say, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to get you that information. I'm going to call you back to confirm the request. Hang up the phone at that point. Go to the company handbook, look up the CEO's number, go to your colleague, go to your manager, find out that contact, initiate the contact from a way that is documented as safe. So if that CEO on the phone says, oh no, you can't call me back, you have to call me back at this special number, guess what? That's probably a hacker, and that's probably the hacker's number. If you text or call them, you're just going to get the hacker again. So initiate it from a way you understand. But this is the environment we're dealing with, and I have had people get these calls and get a fake call, for instance, to say, hey, I'm locked out of my computer. Can you bypass my MFA? And if I go ahead and do that without verifying the request, I've just let a hacker into the computer. Other things we're seeing this year is an adversary in the middle attack. So this was a case recently on a pretty large bank, one you've definitely heard of. And basically a person gets a phishing email and it says, you've got a problem with your bank account. Goes to that and there's a link to click. So when you click on that link, what happens in this way, instead of going directly to the bank, the link they gave you isn't the bank. It's their server out on the internet. So instead of this direct path to the bank, you go to their hacker's server, which has a website that looks like the bank's website. Visually, it's identical. Unless you're looking at that URL at the very top of your browser, you're not going to see that. Uh, And so it looks like they're logging. You put in your username, you put in your password, and then you get prompted for your MFA. What happens at that point is the attacker's server is acting like a relay. So it takes your MFA request, it forwards it along to the bank, gets the correct response, passes it back to the hacker, who then passes it back to you. But in the meantime, because they sat in the middle, they recorded that MFA key, or they recorded that MFA push. So now they have access to your systems. So it does require somebody to be tricked. That's the crucial thing here. You're not going to go directly to this hacker's website. Typically, the person is clicking on a link in a fake email and a phishing email. And this is very, very common these days with fake e-signs like Adobe, DocuSign, etc. Fake sites for cloud service providers, Microsoft SharePoint, Google Workspace, Dropbox, Box are good examples. We also see this with fake Wi-Fi hotspots. So something happened to our president, Keith, last year. He was traveling for a conference. He's at a Marriott. Thought he was joining the Marriott's network. It looked the same. It was called the same. There was a fake hotspot in there. Tried to record his data. Luckily, we are monitoring all of our computers 24/7, and we spotted that unauthorized access by the hacker within a minute and stopped the connection. But as far as his computer was concerned, it looked like Marriott's network, and it was just passing that signal through. Think of it this way. It's like if you pull up at the bank drive-through and you hand your ATM card over to the machine, there's a person sitting inside the machine that copies their info and then hands it to the bank. And then when the bank hands it back, they copy that info and hand it back. So they're seeing everything you do. And unless you're paying attention to that URL at the top, you've now granted them access, even though you are protected by MFA. Another thing we're seeing is a really interesting case of social engineering. So it's one thing for a hacker to code their way in, to hack into a system. It's often easier for them to trick their way, talk their way, or harass their way into a system. So this was a major transportation company, which again, everybody's going to know. This was a couple years ago. So basically, one of their IT admins, uh, he had credentials, a username and password that was leaked in a phishing attempt, and it was for sale on the dark web. A hacker bought his username and password. Doesn't have access to the company's systems at this point because the company did the right thing and was protected by MFA. So what they did is they waited till 2 in the morning, and then they started sending MFA pushes to his phone. Beep, sign in. Beep, sign in. Beep, sign. And he is at first doing the thing he should be doing, which is saying no, because he wasn't actually trying to log in. Eventually, this kept going on, and he couldn't sleep. So to shut up his phone, he said yes. And at that point, he let the hacker in to the transportation company's systems and servers. This is what we call fatigue bombing. Basically, poke, 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 until the person says to shut it up, I'm going to say yes. And they let the hacker in. Brilliant social engineering, super simple to do. Now, how to get around this? First thing we say is never accept an MFA you didn't initiate. I was doing cybersecurity training yesterday, and I had a question from somebody. It was a good question. It said, so if I'm getting these a lot, if I'm getting MFA pushes a lot, do I need to reset my password? I said, yeah, if you're getting those a lot, they've already got your password. They've already got the part of the credential chain, most likely, and we do want to reset it. Multi-factor only works if the hacker needs multiple things to get in. So if they've got half the information, now they only need the MFA. You're down to single factor. You're no longer a multi anymore. So password security is a big part of this. Updating those passwords when you get a prompt is a big part of this. At Advantage, a lot of our clients use Keeper Password Manager, and that vault tells you if you have any passwords for sale on the dark web. So you can go look and update those records. One other one I'm going to mention here is a somewhat painful one because a lot of people are still using it, which is the SMS or the text multi-factor. Um, there are ways that it can be exploited, and this has happened a couple times recently. This was a few years ago in 2020. Um, Hackers basically, and we can see here, a hacker stole the personal details through phishing or the dark web. So they had the user's username and password to T-Mobile, called into T-Mobile, gave their credentials, and initiated a transfer to a new number. In that process, they used equipment to clone the number to another SIM card. So every time an MFA was sent to the actual person, a copy of that text message was also sent to the hacker's cloned SIM card. So when the person accessed their Bitcoin wallet, the hacker also got the login at the same time because they already had their password, they already had their username, they now had all three pieces of information, and they were able to steal, at the time, $38 million in Bitcoin. So this is an issue. There is also an issue with text messaging and international travel, where that system is uniquely vulnerable. When you are roaming internationally, it may default to a local connector a local carrier that may not have the same level of security protections that we do in the United States, may have a vulnerable SIM or SMS network. Veritasium on YouTube did a great video on this last year where he was able to basically hack into Linus of Linus Tech Tips phone with this system and get all of his text messages and calls within a few minutes. So what do you do in this case? We want you to move to more secure multi-factor systems. So what do those look like? Phishing resistant MFA. One of that's going to be app-based MFAs, Google Authenticator, Microsoft Duo, those kinds of things. And not just a check mark, but we're moving towards number matching or push notifications. So you've seen this if you've logged into Microsoft and had an MFA request on your phone, it's now going to ask you to type in 2 or 3 numbers to confirm your identity, not just hit a checkbox. Why? Because the hacker sitting in Russia can hit a checkbox. The hacker is not looking at your screen and seeing the 2 or 3 numbers that are displayed. So that's going to depend on you to type in those numbers. It's a little more work. It's a lot more secure. Now, not every platform has more modern methods yet. Generally, SMS is a text message is better than no MFA. If that is your only option, do the text message. If they have an app, that's even better. You want to move to that higher level. And if the app has things like number matching, go ahead and use that. So the strongest one you can use, but even SMS is better than none. Conditional access policies. So this is something we do for Advantage and a lot of our clients in our work environments is we don't allow any phone to connect to the email. We only allow specific phones that we've registered or enrolled. So that's something that we can lock down across your network. It's a little less flexible when your employee gets a new phone. They're going to need to call us. So we can allow it. We're going to need to then go back and confirm their identity. But once we do that, we can authorize their new phone to connect to your email and SharePoint. Or your computer to connect to your Intune network. So we're very big fans of conditional access policies at Advantage. Only approved devices are allowed to talk, not any random device out on the internet. One of the other crucial things is antivirus. So if we go back and look at these examples, a lot of times these attacks aren't happening independently. It isn't just MFA. The hacker already has other information on the user, right? So we're luring them to a fake website through a phishing attack. We are purchasing their credentials on dark web. We may have hacked into their computer so we can steal their multi-factor authentication key. So having strong antivirus endpoint detection and response is absolutely crucial. Now, we do antivirus on the front end. On the back end, we have a security operations center. We do the detection and response. We are seeing if, somebody is logged in your account from Russia or overseas, or even at an advantage, we're even able to get as sophisticated as, oh, you logged in from Maryland, and then 3 minutes later you logged in from Texas. That's an impossible login. You're not that fast. That's going to trigger one of these alerts on our endpoint detection response system and trigger an alert with conditional access. If you're a Microsoft client, this is why we put people on that more expensive business premium license, because it allows location awareness, letting us do conditional access. We can see that, oh, you've logged in from too many places. That's an alert. Security awareness training. So again, all of these MFA keys already depend on other kind of tricks or hacks. So phishing, clicking on that email to trigger that man in the middle attack depends on somebody clicking a link in a phishing email. So if you're not doing cybersecurity training, you can still be vulnerable to this. So do that training. We are big fans of KnowBe4 here. We also pair that with live classes. So we're happy to come do a live class with you. Managed application control is another layer too. This is something we are phasing in at Advantage right now, but that is basically we only want to allow safe programs to run on your work computers. If it's an unknown program, if it's not a trusted program, if we don't recognize the vendor, the author of that program, it's going to trigger an alerted Advantage. We're not going to let it run till we have a chance to look at it. So that's preventing that software from stealing those logins or sending those keystrokes or sending that multi-factor back to the hacker from the infected computer. So we don't trust, we verify the access first. And this is something we can put in place for you. Lastly, managed detection response. We take action when things make it through. We respond to those alerts. We move as fast as we can. We can typically detect an unauthorized email login in 2 minutes. And that speed makes all the difference. Think about it this way. If you have a system that alerts you, and we see this still, there's some older systems that will alert you to that login, but it's an alert, right? And it depends on somebody seeing and responding to that alert. So in older detection systems, what you might see is, oh, at 2 in the morning, or hey, we're going into a long weekend. So let's say Friday night at 11 p.m., there's an unauthorized login from China to your email account. Under an older system, that will generate an alert, generate a ticket to the IT department, but they might not see that till Monday morning. Or in this case, Tuesday morning, because it's Memorial Day weekend. So the hacker has 3 days to basically send out fake emails, steal data, impersonate you, generate their own deep fakes to attack your colleagues. They've just 3 days to go crazy. At Advantage, we don't think that's acceptable. We have staffed security monitoring that are looking at these alerts. And so when that happens at 11 a.m., we'll see it typically by 11:02, and we'll lock the account. We'll reach out to you on call over the weekend, but if we need to, we'll go ahead, help the user reset their password on Tuesday morning. With 2 minutes, the hacker doesn't have time to send out those fake invoices to your clients, etc. We kick them out. So the big takeaways here are there's a lot you can do today to make your MFA system better. So upgrade to the latest standard. If you're still on text and they have the option to do a more modern method, take the time to turn that on. Go ahead and do that. If you need help, reach out to us. Enable conditional access. So again, this is something we do on Microsoft. You can do it on other platforms. And again, we're happy to help you with that stuff so that we're going to block locations from out of country. We do that by default at Advantage. We don't allow overseas access unless we specifically set up something with the client. You need to have antivirus protection, and you need to be on a corporate device. So this is very important, especially in this cloud world. There is a temptation to say, "Oh, we're on SharePoint. Um, I left my work laptop at the office. I'm just gonna hop on, you know, my 13-year-old's computer and check these documents." You don't know what your 13-year-old is doing on that computer. You don't know if it's protected. We want you on a corporately protected, secured environment, so we're closing that loophole. And again, we can do conditional access to only allow corporate devices if you want. Train your team on AI threats. So people need to know that these deepfake attacks are real. They are very successful if people aren't aware of how sophisticated the technology is, how easy it is to do this. You need to be doing your cybersecurity training. You need to be enforcing it, and you need to update your cybersecurity training. This tech is moving so fast right now that if you're not doing regular scheduled cybersecurity training, we do 3 modules every quarter for our clients at Advantage, you're going to be falling behind. We also strongly encourage live classes. Like I said, brings it home. We can show those examples, share them with your teams. Managed application control is something we're putting in place right now at Advantage, but that is basically we'll work with you. We want to know who the trusted vendors are. We want to block vendors that we're not familiar with. Slows you down a little bit potentially. If you use a boutique vendor, we're going to need to take the time to validate that that's secure software, but that makes a huge difference. That's easy for us to do. We know that vendor, we're able to reach out, we're able to confirm their security controls, and we can run that software. Takes a little time, but now your entire team is much safer. And lastly, monitor and respond. So managed detection and response, that 24/7 monitoring comes into play because no layer protection is 100% safe. And that's one of the big takeaways today is that MFA is not an end-all be-all. No tool is. So we need to assume that hackers can get through these layers. We want to catch them when they do. So the monitoring and response protection is an essential layer. So it's a layer, not a silver bullet. AI is fast. Deepfakes and AI efficient are bypassing human judgment. They can talk their way around security control, so you got to do your training and layers of protection, defense, and depth. You need to be reevaluating your layers. You need to be reevaluating your tools. You need to be constantly updating things. We are here to help you do that. Your client success managers, your technical success managers, we're going to alert you to the latest threats, what actions we can take. The nice thing is, as we saw, or the bad news is 3,000% attacks. The nice increase in attacks, the nice thing is it's impacting everybody. This is a very important issue to all of the major tech companies, Google, Microsoft, Apple. Everybody's putting a lot of effort into it, and we're constantly getting better ways to counteract these attacks. So we're all in this together. As long as you are proactive, as long as you stay on top of things, reach out to us, reach out to your technical partner. You can protect your company, but don't wait for a breach. Don't rest on your laurels. So, covered a lot. I think we're ready to open up for questions at this point, if anybody has any. We will, of course, be posting this to our YouTube channel as well, so you'll be able to share it out or reference it again.
Yeah, and that'll be up before most likely the end of the day. I know some people got into the session a little bit late, so if you want to catch the first half, that'll be up on our YouTube, and I'll be sending out an email with that link as well.
Mhm. Thank you.
So I don't see any questions, so just give you
Perfect.
30 minutes back from the
Yeah,
originally scheduled time.
very
I
good.
hope everyone has a great day, and
Yeah,
we'll
and
be
have a
sending
good
out info on the
holiday.
next one.
Yeah.
All right,
See you
bye
soon,
guys.
folks. Thank you.